But no pressure.
That's a good belief system Tony DeCopel has, I say.
You're held in high esteem. All right, CBS News contributor David Becker joins us now. He's an election law expert and the founder of the Center for Election Innovation and Research. Good morning, David. Thanks for being with us.
Good morning.
As we've mentioned, 94 million people have already voted. How unprecedented is that, and what do you think it's likely to mean for turnout tomorrow?
Well, we've never even come close to this in American history. To put this in perspective, by the time we get to the polls opening tomorrow, there will have been at least 100 million people who have already cast their ballots. That means if we see turnout around 150 or 160 million, which would be record turnout by far in American history, we would see the highest percentage really in American history since we've seen universal suffrage of eligible voters, but also we'd actually see fewer people voting on Election Day than we have in recent elections because so many people have already gotten their ballots in.
David, there's been a lot of talk about the legitimacy of this election. The president has raised doubts. There are concerns about foreign interference. Is there any reason to believe that the U.S. won't hold a free and fair election tomorrow?
Not at all. In fact, there's a lot of reason to believe we're going to hold a very free and fair and one of the most secure elections we've ever had. And again, one of the key reasons is that 100 million ballots that are already in the scanners, ready to be counted on election night. If we had had any problems, if we had seen any interference with election infrastructure, it's highly likely we would have detected it already. There's going to be fewer voters voting on Election Day by far than we're going to have seen voting over the last several weeks.
David, the president has also said after this election, one of the first calls he's making is to his lawyer. He has some issue with ballots being counted after Election Day. What do you make of that?
Well, I think it's a little troubling to hear that kind of language coming from any candidate, particularly an incumbent president. Look, I mean, right now the game should be to try to get as many voters out and to win the election with more voters than your opponent. We're not really seeing that from the president. Hopefully that we'll get a clear answer from the voters. I think the record turnout that we are seeing is going to yield a very clear answer from the voters, and I think there's a very good chance we're going to know who the president is sometime very late Tuesday night, early Wednesday morning.
The president also says he will declare victory if he's ahead. He seems to have walked that back a little bit now. But what happens if a candidate declares victory too early?
Well, a candidate can do whatever he wants, but of course, we've had this process for a long time. This has always been the way it's been. We have never declared a winner on election night unless the margins were excessively large. It's very, very normal to allow the process of counting all the ballots to go on over